The New England Patriots trounced the Steelers 33-3, and now the sky is falling in Pittsburgh. It's time to fire Mike Tomlin. It's time to move on from Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is washed up. He doesn't have what it takes anymore. They miss Antonio Brown. They miss Le'Veon Bell. It all showed in this Week 1 game. The sky is falling. It is time to panic in Pittsburgh, says the uninformed overreactor. Welcome to the Terrible Towel wrap-up. Oh, man. That was a painful game to sit through. But I am going to remind everyone listening to this, especially the Steelers fans out there, that this was one game. A Week 1 game, nonetheless, for a team that is obviously going to go through an adjustment period with the difference in offense they have now without Antonio Brown, and the familiarity just isn't there yet. And what tougher matchup could you possibly have to go at right away than to go to New England in Week 1 when they have an infinite amount of time to prepare to play you? And that is what happened tonight. Per usual, New England outcoached, outschemed, and outclassed the Pittsburgh Steelers in an unfortunate, ungodly performance from Pittsburgh tonight. I will not excuse that by any extent. It was awful. It was painful to sit through. At times, I thought about turning it off and going to bed, but I made it through. And the thing to remember is that this is Week 1. You can look at last year. The Steelers started Week 1 tying with the Cleveland Browns, and they ended up winning 9 games. Last year in September, I believe the Patriots started off 1-2. They lost to Detroit. They lost to Jacksonville, both non-playoff teams. They still won the Super Bowl. And, just thinking of it being one game, last year we beat New England. It didn't do anything for us. We still didn't make the playoffs. So the overreactions are going to be flooded about how it's time to change things. It's time to fire Tomlin. It's time to do this and do that, and I'm not that. And we can have a different discussion about that when the Steelers go 6-10 or 5-11. But when we lose one game, the opener to the defending Super Bowl champions and the favorite to win it again this year, what did you expect? I expected us to lose this game. I didn't expect us to lose by 30, but I expected a loss. Now, and the flip side of this is that if the Steelers had won, I would also be here saying, don't overreact to that win. It's only one game. And that's the key of the NFL season from a fan perspective, and really from any perspective, is that you can never get too high after a win, and you can never get too low after a loss. And I think the Steelers are still going to rebound from this game. I think that we're going to see adjustments made and throughout the course of the season as we play more winnable games than going to Foxborough, that we'll see an improvement. And I still believe that this is a playoff team. I believe that this is a 9-10 win team that I think will end up winning the AFC North, and if they don't, they'll sneak in a wild card. But either way, I think this is a playoff team, and it's just a matter of adapting and getting things together. getting on the same page. And, one of the big things I think is that people are going to overreact to Ben Roethlisberger in particular. That, it was a very pedestrian game from him. And I would say that the reason for that is just that no one was getting open. And it was actually ridiculous that there was no pass rush from New England. Ben had all day to throw, but no one was getting open. And, it sounds ridiculous to even speak, but that's kind of the most important thing about passing the football. And of course, it didn't help that the running game was shut down early. Go down 20-0. You can't really establish the run from there. You become one-dimensional. It's all over from there. And that's when this game died, is when the Steelers had to become one-dimensional. Because when you can't run it, you can't run to set up the play action. And then you're one-dimensional. The Patriots know what to play against. It becomes harder to do. And with the Patriots being as disciplined of a defense as they are, they're not going to give anything easy. And they didn't all night. They took away Juju Smith-Schuster, who's the number one receiver, and simply by just putting Stephon Gilmore on him, and that was it. Lock him up. And, sometimes what New England will do, and they did this against the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. They do it a lot with number one receivers. I'm sure they've done it with Antonio Brown a lot. Is that they'll put the number one corner, in this case Stephon Gilmore, on the second best receiver. And then they'll double team the number one receiver. So then you kill two birds with one stone there. Be able to double team one while putting the best corner on the other. And so Juju definitely felt what life is going to be like without having Antonio Brown to take away the double teams. I won't deny that at all. I won't deny that Antonio Brown's impacts on the Steelers will be felt, because he was, in my opinion, the best receiver in the NFL during that stretch of time with the Steelers. And Juju was able to have a career year, I think 1,600 yards last year. But now, when he's getting the attention, when he's going up against Stephon Gilmore and not having Antonio Brown to take away from the pressure, then we're really going to see what Juju is made of. Is he meant to be a number one guy? And, some guys aren't. Some guys are just better as complementary guys. And I think another thing there is that Juju now has to play outside a lot more instead of being in the slot, which is where he was able to really establish himself a lot of the time. And so it's all an adjustment period. But I still believe that they will get there. And, just going through some of the things that led into this game. I mean, the Steelers tried, if you remember last year when Pittsburgh beat New England at Pittsburgh, the main thing that assisted them was being able to run the football. And not in a run it up the middle sort of way. They had this, it was really a combination of this one play where it would be out of the shotgun, it would be a toss to the halfback, and he would either keep it outside, or in some cases they would have a counter and he would go back inside. But it was a variation of that same play, and it was Jalen Samuels that was really dominating the Patriots in that game. In this case, they tried to do that early. They tried that many times with Samuels and Connor, but New England was prepared for it. And that's the thing, with playing against the Patriots and playing against a Bill Belichick coach team, is that if you use something that worked in the first game, you bet your ass they're going to be prepared for it in the second game. They knew it was coming. They had that play scouted. They had that offense scouted. And once they took away the run game, became one-dimensional, they were able to lock down and just keep everything shut down. The offense never got going. And, I won't say that Ben played a good game, because he obviously didn't. But he didn't force any mistakes. He had the one interception at the end in garbage time, but that was meaningless. And other than that, he didn't really throw any that should have been intercepted. And, there were a couple deep balls that he overthrew by a little bit, and, things like that. But he didn't make any glaring mistakes, which is something that he's really known for doing, is that even when he is on his game and having a great game, that there will always be that one throw or that one or two throws where you're just baffled. Like, why did you think that was a good idea? But there wasn't really any of those today. It was just that no one was able to get open. And I think that is the adjustment period that we're talking about. I think that with Juju being the number one, now we have to focus on how to make that work. Who is number two? Is Vance McDonald number two? We didn't see him enough this game. I think Ryan Switzer should be a bigger part of the offense on timing routes and really being used in the same way the Patriots used Julian Edelman. James Washington, he's explosive going down the field, but I don't think he's all there yet. I think he's a burner of a receiver going down the field, but I don't think he's completely there as a full package guy yet. And, there's a lot of unproven receivers there. And I think the key is that they really just need to get back to the traditional Pittsburgh Steelers football, which is run to set up the pass. And, New England took away the run so early and went up by so many points that there was no way you could really establish the ground game. But what I want to see is more two tight end sets, more I formations, and focus on letting James Conner pound it up the middle, because that's what he's good at. And you look at the offense we have now, it's not meant to be a spread offense at this point with the receivers we have. We don't need to play 3 receivers, 4 receivers on every snap. It doesn't need to happen. We have a good tight end in Vance McDonald who's very versatile. We have a great fullback in Roosevelt Nix, who somehow is it's forgotten that he's on the roster. And, we can look at that 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line, the lone scoring drive on the night. On 3rd and goal at the 1, we have 3 or 4 receivers on the field in shotgun. And it's just what happened to just lining up with the fullback and running it up the middle? Or doing the same thing but going play action out of it. You're just spreading yourself too thin, because when you go in a goal line set or an I-form set at the goal line, then the defense has to be prepared for run or pass. I just feel like you're making it too one-dimensional when you go on the 1-yard line and then go in a spread offense. And then to make matters worse, that was at a point when the Steelers were down 20-0, and they don't convert 3rd and goal at the 1, and they settle for the field goal. That was a baffling decision. That drive was set up, I believe, by the James Washington deep ball, which I still have no idea why he ran out of bounds. And, I gave him the benefit of the doubt at first and thought that his momentum carried him out of bounds. But, the more the more they replayed it, it just looked like he just dipped out of bounds. And that was a touchdown if he just runs straight forward, which, that's just crazy. And, Washington, he has those signs of being that breakout receiver that the Steelers really need, but I just don't think he's quite there yet. And I'm sure he'll be better this year. He'll be more featured, but he's not there yet. Going through defensively, I mean, New England just absolutely put on a clinic, and they made it look easy. And it just all comes down to what the Patriots do is that, they'll run to set up the pass. They'll go through the play actions. They'll be able to draw the linebackers in, which they brought Devin Bush in on those play actions a lot. Devin Bush looked lost in coverage throughout the night. And, it's his first game of his rookie season. And, he still led in tackles, so at least there's that. But he definitely was caught a few times in this game. Just, things that will hopefully come with time with him. And I still very much believe in him. But, the Patriots offense, it's just as simple as an offense can be, and it works. It's run it up the middle, go 2 tight ends sometimes, and, when you do pass it, you're doing underneath, you're doing crossing routes, you're doing timing concepts. And that's the big thing, is that they're always getting it out quick. It's always a 2.5 second before Brady has the ball out of his hands, and it's just quick. And whether it's a drag, whether it's a pick, whether it's a streak over the middle to Philip Dorsett going untouched into the end zone, it's always quick. And, the Steelers just struggled. They tried to play man, which in the past, the thing that really killed the Steelers all the time was that they would try to play zone and play cover 2, and it would just never work because Brady is going to eat up his own every day. But back then, they didn't have the personnel, they didn't have the corners to be able to play man-to-man. Now, we have some guys, like Joe Hayden's there, but you can't... It's just as hard to play man, because then when you get into those rub concepts and the pick plays and everything that goes into the Patriots offense, it's hard to be able to man up and play man-to-man. And so, just all night, just Patriots move the ball consistently with no issue. And, 4 yards here, 5 yards there, just moving the chains, just keeping things moving. And it just was really a poor performance by the Steelers defense, and really just I think it comes down to a lack of preparation. I think it's a big thing that we see a lot, is that the Patriots are always going to be more prepared than you, and that's just how it goes. And as far as looking into whether it's time to fire Mike Tomlin and all that jazz, I mean, it's just not there. And maybe if the Steelers end up going 6-10 or 5-11, like I said earlier, then we can have that discussion. But who are we going to bring in that's going to just change everything? Because it's not like this is an exclusive problem to the Steelers. Beating the New England Patriots is something that nobody's been able to do consistently. And so if that's going to be what gets you fired as a coach, then who are you going to bring in that will change that? So, it's all there, and that's how I feel about this. I think that the Steelers are going to have a bounce-back game next week at home against the Seattle Seahawks, I believe. And, I'll be interested to see if things get cleaned up, if the offense looks any better. I mean, it'd be hard to look worse, to be honest. But, just temper the expectations, just temper the overreactions. Let's get through a season before we really dive into what the Steelers need to change and what is going on there. let's let it play out, because this is just one game. It's 1 week, one game. There are plenty of instances where this could turn around and end up meaning nothing, and the Steelers end up making the playoffs in the end. So, those are my thoughts. I appreciate you guys listening through this. If you want to check out more of my stuff, I posted a video yesterday, I think, that got a pretty good reaction. The possibility of Antonio Brown colluding with the New England Patriots, that is up on the channel, as well as my Week 1 picks against the spread, which was posted earlier last week. For Week 1, I ended up going 2-3 with really, really bad beat in there. We'll get to all of that. We'll recap that when we do the predictions for Week 2 later this week. Overall, just a really, really bad betting day. But Week 1 normally is. There's always some unpredictability in there. But, yeah, don't overreact. Don't call for any heads yet. Let's just see how everything goes. Like and subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and stick around for more Steelers content every week with the Terrible Towel wrap-up show and all the other stuff that I will do on this channel. So thank you guys.